Thank you for that. Back in the UK, then, well, for a lot of years now, I've been following the accusations against people ending up in prison in this country, falsely accused of various things. A lot of years ago, it must have been about 2012 or 2013. I was visiting somebody in Strangeways prison in Manchester. And one of the points that he made to me during that visit was that there were a ton of people in that prison, one of the worst prisons in the country, who were there on indeterminate sentences with no release date. But the only thing that they needed to do in order to get a release date was to admit their guilt, but they would not do that. So why am I mentioning this? Yesterday was Falsely Accused Day, and Will Coleshill was at the Royal Court of Justice to report on that for us. So let's just have a look at that.
Hello, this is Will Coleshill reporting for UK Column, and today I'm down at the Royal Courts of Justice talking to people on International Falsely Accused Day, talking to people about miscarriages of justice and how our justice system is broken.
This is the Falsely Accused Day outside the Royal Courts of Justice, and it's to bring together lots of organisations who either claim to have been falsely accused and who represent different parts of that community, I suppose.
Hello, gents. May I ask what brings you down here today?
Well, it's interested in the Jeremy Bamber case because he's the same age as me, and I followed it since I remember the case when I was in my early 20s. And here I am. He's still in jail and some of the evidence was produced. It's been a farce. It just sounds farcical to me.
So for Lucy Letby today. Well, Lucy was found guilty and sentenced to a total of 15 whole life orders. Our case is in the hands of the CCRC at the moment for review. And we're just hoping for a referral back to the Court of Appeal as soon as possible because she's in the prime years of her life and they're dwindling away.
So my name is Mike Thompson. I am founder and director of Falsely Accused Network. We support anyone falsely accused of domestic abuse in England and Wales. And I'm here today to show strength and solidarity with the falsely accused and the other organisations here today.
We just want people to know that there is a lot of injustice out there. The system is not a great system at the moment, needs a lot of work doing. They fail a lot of people and continue to do so.
It's very common for a man who's been falsely accused to go through post-traumatic stress disorder. They can enter deep phases of depression, anger, mood swings, and unfortunately, some have took the ultimate action.
You can never ever get back the lost time. And it isn't just the person affected, it's families as well. You know, it's got a massive effect on people's families and, you know, careers, pensions. You know, it's a financial impact as well.
My mum was a sub-post office worker. They wanted her to take on this new equipment, the Horizon equipment. And she said, no, I can't learn computers, blah, blah, blah. She said, if they force me to do that, I will shut the post office. And she did. So had she not shut the sub-post office, we could have been, our family could have been wrapped up in that. So it literally can happen to anyone.
Have you seen what's been happening to the MP who exposed it, Andrew Bridgen?
Yes, yeah. They will belittle him as they do to, a lot of these people that expose it. They do what they can to try and trash their name.
And what specific changes do we really need within the courts?
You know, the use of circumstantial and scientific evidence has got to improve. I think juries need to be better informed when they make decisions, especially like medical cases. They've got to be better informed, and it's got to be balanced as well. You know, you can't just have a strong prosecution. It's got to be fair, because when you've got one person arguing for the prosecution and nobody for the defence, who is the jury going to believe? If there's no contest, who are they going to believe?
To believe the victim policy introduced by Keir Starmer when he was Crown Prosecution Service has inverted the principle of innocent in law, and everybody here has had a experience of that, and they're here to stridently fight it and to point out to Starmer and his people where they're going wrong. They know where they're going wrong, and we have to do something visible now and again like this.
What's particularly broken is the presumption of innocence. Second a woman makes an allegation against a man, he's automatically seen as guilty and treated like a criminal before any evidence has been reviewed, for any trial, and that's got to stop.
When there is a miscarriage of justice, that there should be a lot easier and quicker to get it in front of back in court or whatever needs to be done.
What about jury unanimity?
Jury unanimity is a real problem when you have the majority verdicts, as for example in Lucy Letby original trial, and in Andy Malkinson, released a couple of years ago, exonerated a couple of years ago. Those were majority verdicts. There were two people in both of those juries who two about that number who didn't agree that that person was guilty. And imagine how they felt when they went home. It's a aberrance of justice.
The jury I was on was a majority verdict, not a majority verdict, a unanimous verdict, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, after all, the law says it has to be beyond reasonable doubt. Well, if the two people disagree, there's some doubt there, that's for sure.
I think 10-2 is still not enough. But when you're talking about whole life sentences, mistakes do happen. It's been proven. You look at Andrew Malkinson, Peter Sullivan this year, Stefano Kishko from years back. You've got to be surer than sure.
What do you think about what's going on with all of these district judges who aren't volunteers like magistrates and are just state employees and can lock people up for 6 months?
These judges have a tendency to be trained in certain new culture crimes, new allegations of that, and we'll follow that rather than and the pressure on those people to follow conviction targets is just like it is on the police. Until they start doing it with the principle of British law as we're all used to it, we're screwed because they are woke indentured, for want of a better term.
I think the whole thing's a mess. I think the whole thing is a complete mess and it all needs overhauled. It's absolutely shocking, the state of it now. And it's only going to get worse.
So do you think we've got a two-tier justice system then?
Yeah, I'd say it's a multi-tiered justice system because I know what the two-tier can apply to in certain intersectionalities, so with race and immigration, that sort of thing. But then there's sexism going on, misandry, misogyny, everything, all these different competing identity groups. All that needs to be chucked in the bin and get back to the presumption of innocence in law for everybody in that country.
Well, that sounds good to me. Where can people find out more?
If they go to empoweringtheinnocent.com on a Google search, they'll find all of the Empowering the Innocent things under there. Yeah.
So it's been an interesting day today down here at the High Court. We've had a lot of people talking about the failures of the justice system. I've experienced it. I'm sure a lot of people have experienced it in recent years, whether it's from the postmasters to all of the men falsely accused of domestic violence to people put in prison for murders that they may not have committed. This is Will Coleshill reporting for UK Column. Thank you.
And thanks to Will for that.
Very good report.
Yes. Okay, Patrick, let's just very quickly, because we're well over time here, just very quickly end with what?
Well, we were going to do a feel-good segment because that went over really well last time with John Bolton there. But we're going to do an educational segment, I think, more of a cultural heritage educational segment here. So we'll bring this up on screen. As you know, tomorrow, September 13th, that's the big free speech rally led by Tommy Robinson here. As you can see, a lot of the opposition media are jumping on there on the What's On section here. Full route of Tommy Robinson's huge, quote, free speech rally through the Capitol in London. Tommy says 1 million are going to show up. It's going to be a 1 million-man march for free speech, I guess. So that's exciting here. But what we want to point out is the symbolism, especially of the English flag here. And as you know, Tommy likes to adorn himself in the Cross of St. George. This is one of his big calling cards ever since the days of the EDL here. This is an old photo here from back in the day. Tommy is the head of the English Defence League. So you'll often see St. George's flying when you see Tommy in public and at rallies and so forth here. So, but then there's a whole conversation about St. George himself. This is the patron saint of England. This is what the Cross of St. George represents. Why is St. George the patron saint of England, and what was his nationality? That's an interesting question. I always thought growing up that St. George was English, and then he left England with Richard the Lionheart fighting the Crusades, and the rest is history. Sean Connery and Orlando Bloom and the Kingdom of Heaven and so forth. But that's not actually the case here. We just did a little bit of digging, and some people might be surprised, not least of all Tommy himself here, the nationality of St. George. It turns out St. George, his father was a Turk and his mother was Palestinian. So St. George is effectively Palestinian. He lived most of his adult life in Palestine. He fought against the oppressors in Palestine. He's venerated to this day by the Palestinians. There's a church, a chapel, a historic chapel in his name as well. So he's highly regarded by Palestinians, Christian Palestinians specifically, as a kind of hero figure here. So, I mean, I hate to break it to you, Mike, and everybody here. It's not such a bad thing, depending on what side of the issue you're on. But, St. George was a Palestinian. Well, maybe Tommy will add the other flag alongside of the cross of St. George. I don't think he will. But then again, isn't it interesting though? History is bizarre, isn't it?
History can be bizarre.
It's so strange. It's so strange. But we thought we'd share that with you. And, go ahead and talk about that at the pub. I think that would be a nice icebreaker for a conversation at the dinner table or whatever. St. George, father was a Turk, mother was a Palestinian. I'll leave it there.
We got to leave it there for today. Thank you to Mark and Patrick and everybody that's watched. We'll be back in a couple of minutes for some extra. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you.